All right, week 1, June 23rd to June 28th, new 9-point slope guided video tutorial. You made it to the last one of the week. And if you made it here, you should be proud of yourself. So, point slope form gets a bad rap. A lot of people don't like it. I actually prefer it. I think once you see it, you won't mind it too much. But let's give it a go and see how it goes. So some of these notes are probably a little bit overdue, but it'll be a good review. Once again, just going through this, slope-intercept form looks like y equals mx plus b. M stands for the slope. B stands for the y-intercept. And again, it's where you begin. And the y-intercept is where my line crosses the y-axis. Point slope form looks like y minus y1 equals m parentheses x minus x1, where y1 and x1, this is a placeholder. It's a placeholder point, meaning just like in slope-intercept form, the x and the y was part of the answer, the x and the y in point slope form is also part of the answer. The x1, y1 is not part of your answer. That you want to fill in with something. So if you look at number 1, write the equation of the line in point slope form. Okay, we're going to, guess what? Create a template. I feel like I'm kind of becoming a broken record here. We're going to write this out. Y minus blank equals blank, x minus blank. Now the minuses are important because they're part of the formula. So if you input a subtraction or you input another minus in there, it's actually going to become positive. So the subtraction piece is very important. Now, what you're given is an x and a y and an m. So we can place them in, and the biggest thing to remember is you have x, y in that order, and then in point slope form they start with the y. So you have y minus 6, because that's your y1, the y they give you, equals m, which is 5, parentheses x minus the x they give you, which is -1. Now, here's what I was talking about. You have a double negative because you have the minus from the formula and you have the negative from the given point, and that will create a plus. And you're just going to rewrite it nicely. So your answer is y minus 6 equals 5, parentheses, x plus 1, close parentheses. And you're done. Let's look at number 2. Create your template for yourself. Label your point. And then input what you have. So I put in my y, I put in my m, I put in my x. I'm going to go back and fix any of my double signs. And what I end up with is y plus 9 equals 2 parentheses x plus 4 close parentheses. Period. So my next direction is to write in point slope form the equation of the line that passes through the given point and has the given slope. Then rewrite the equation in slope intercept form. Without realizing it, you have already done the second half of this, so it's going to be easier than you realize it. And you actually have done the first part just above. So first things first, we're going to write point slope form, which is doing exactly what you just did. We're going to create our template. And we're going to plug in. So we're going to plug in our y, our m, and our x. And we're going to rewrite it so that there's no lines or any double signs, which there wasn't in this one. So we're going to get y minus 3 equals negative 2 parentheses x minus 10 close parentheses. Now, this problem looks exactly like the problem from New 8 video tutorial, where we have to first distribute out and then we have to get y by itself. So in order to distribute out, first I'm going to take this negative 2 and I'm going to distribute it to both terms in the parentheses. So I'm going to leave the y minus 3 alone, and I'm going to get negative 2x plus 20. And then I'm going to add 3 to both sides, and I'm going to get y equals negative 2x plus 23. And that is, oops, I caught my mistake. I hope you guys did too. Equals 23. So if you look, this is your point slope. This is your slope intercept form. They are the exact same line. They are just two different forms. So let's try the next one. Creating my template. Plugging into my template. And writing it more nicely. So my answer for point slope form is y minus 6 equals 1/2 parentheses x minus 8 close parentheses. In order to get it into slope intercept form, I have to distribute out the 1/2. So I leave the y minus 6 and I get 1/2 x minus 4 on the right side. And then I add 6 to both sides. I get y equals 1/2 x plus 2. So my slope intercept form is y equals 1/2 x plus 2. Highlighting both answers. So you can see your two forms. All right, going off of a graph. Not much different. You have to be able to identify your slope. So we talked about this a couple lessons ago. All right. Remember your slope. A couple ways you can do it. You have 2 points, so you can use your formula. I don't want to say I'm lazy, but when I can get away with not using my formula, I'll take it. I'm going to count using my rise over my run. So I am going to create my kind of a box for myself, and I'm always going to go from my left point to my right point. So I'm going to go to my left point, and I'm going to see if I have to go up or down. So I'm going to go up and then over. So I have to go 1, 2, 3 up and 1 over. So my slope is rise 3, run 1. So my slope for this problem is 3 over 1 or 3. Okay. Point slope, I can grab either point. You'll get the same answer. Yours might look different than mine, but you will get the same answer at the end with with slope intercept form. I like to pick the point that's more positive, better numbers, smaller numbers, prettier numbers, less decimal numbers, whatever. So in this one, I would pick 4, 2. Okay, so my point slope would look like y minus 2 equals 3 parentheses x minus 4. You could also have y plus 1 equals 3x minus 3. That's if you pick 3 comma negative 1. This is if you pick 4 comma 2. So again, you have two choices for point slope. At the end, you'd get the same thing for slope intercept. So in order to do that, I have to distribute the 3, leaving the y minus 2 alone. I get 3x minus 12. I add 2 to both sides. Y equals 3x minus 10. If you want me to prove to you that we would get the same thing, very quickly I can. You'd get check. All right, let's do the bottom one here. Got to find my slope, so I'm going to go to my left point, and I am going to figure out how many I need to go up, how many I need to go over. So I'm counting boxes, not lines, not dots, not whatever, boxes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I have to go 5 up and 1, 2, 3 over. So my slope is 5 over 3. Again, picking your point, I'm going to pick 2, 3. So my point slope is y minus 3 equals 5 over 3, x minus 2. This is why I like point slope, because it's prettier, meaning I don't have to do anything with it. As soon as I go to slope intercept form, it's going to go haywire, because now all of a sudden I'm adding in all these fractions and not nice fractions and multiplication with fractions and whatever. So if it doesn't tell you that you have to go there, don't. But this one does tell us we have to. So I'm going to multiply these. I'm going to get 5 thirds x. This is going to be minus 10 over 3. Please feel free to use your calculator if you have one. I'm going to add 3 to both sides. I'm going to get y equals 5 over 3x. And then this is the same as 9 over 3. So essentially I have negative 1/3. So y equals 5 third x minus 1/3. Again, we don't hope for ones like that because they're ugly. All right, and onward. last two. So same thing, we just don't have a graph to go off of. So now we are forced to use the formula. Like I said, if I don't have to, I don't want to, but for this one, I have to. So I'm going to use my slope formula, which is, again, pulling it back. This is where you have to be able to pull things from earlier in the week, right? Earlier in the week, earlier in the weeks, earlier in the semester, earlier from the course. This was from new 6, right? So y's on top. My y's are this one and this one, right? So I'm doing 5 minus 2. If I do the 5 first, I have to do the -1 on the bottom first, and then I have -4. The double negatives here make it a plus, and I have 5 minus 2, which gives me 3. I have -1 plus 4, which also gives me 3, and 3 divided by 3 gives me a 1. So my slope is 1, and I'm working with point slope, so I have to pick a point. Doesn't matter which one. They both have a negative in it, so I'll go with the first one. Again, you could pick either. So I have y minus 5 equals 1 parentheses x plus 1. Again, that's a plus 1 because I'm plugging in the -1, but there's already a -1 in the formula, so it's going to make it a positive 1. In order to go to slope intercept, I'm going to distribute this out. So I have y minus 5 equals 1x plus 1, and I'm going to add 5 to both sides, and I get y equals 1x plus 6, and that is my slope intercept. All right, let's do the same thing. We're just taking it one step further and we're graphing it. So I need my y's on top. So I have 10 minus 7 because I started with the 10. I have to start with the 3. 3 minus 6. So I have 3 over -3. So my slope is -1. So point slope doesn't really matter which. They're both not necessarily terrible numbers. I'll go there. So my point slope is y minus 7 equals -1 parentheses x minus 6. Distributing out the -1. So I have y minus 7 equals -1x plus 6. I'm adding 7 to both, and I get y equals -1x plus 13. So my slope intercept is y equals -1x plus 13. Now this is where it helps to have a slope as a fraction, because I should really have -1 over 1 so that I have a rise and a run. Couple things. I can't graph this off of my slope and my y-intercept with this 13 because my graph doesn't go up to it. It would be up here somewhere. But I can graph this off of those 2 points. So I know that this is 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I can't even graph it off of that. 7. And I can't graph 3, 10 either. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, and I know that my B is 13, so that makes sense because it's about up here. So this graph looks about like this, and don't worry because there won't be one on a test where you can't graph it. All right. Good job. You've completed this module of all new things for week 1. Come at me with all your questions go through all of the independent stuff, practice, practice, practice. And if you need help, please reach out. And I will talk to you soon.